Boy has his lunch stolen every day, but when his father finds out. Joshua sat waiting on the schoolyard curb, watching the other children leave in lively groups. Another day without lunch, another day hungry. "Dad, I lost my lunch again," whispered the 9-year-old boy when he saw Michael approaching with hurried steps. The successful businessman stopped in front of his son, noticing the empty blue lunchbox beside him. Something wasn't right. Joshua had been losing his lunch for 3 weeks. "What do you mean, lost?" Michael crouched down, looking into his son's brown eyes. I dropped it." Joshua's voice trembled. Michael recognized that look. It was the same one he had as a child when he hid something too painful to share. He decided not to push further at that moment, but his mind was already forming a plan. The next morning, Michael arrived at the office early. As the director of a technology company in Chicago, he had important meetings, but something weighed heavily on him. "Linda, I need to reschedule the 10 o'clock meeting," he told his secretary. "Is something wrong, Mr. Michael?" "An urgent family matter." He drove to Joshua's school, parking on a side street where he could observe the schoolyard during recess. What he saw made his heart clench. Joshua was sitting alone in a corner, opening his blue lunchbox. 3 older boys approached. Michael recognized one of them, Tyler, son of Richard Thompson, an influential businessman in the area. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The boys surrounded Joshua. Tyler grabbed the sandwich from the lunchbox while the other 2 blocked the teacher's view. Joshua didn't even try to resist. He just lowered his head. Michael felt a wave of anger, but also something deeper, guilt. How many times had Joshua tried to tell him, and he, too busy with work, had missed the signs? He returned to the car, hands shaking, and called Jennifer, his ex-wife. "Jennifer, we need to talk about Joshua. What happened? Is he okay?" "Physically, yes, but I found out kids have been stealing his lunch at school." The silence on the other end was heavy. "How long?" Jennifer's voice was strained. "I'm not sure. He's been lying about it. Michael, you have to do something. Our son is suffering, and I know I'll handle it." But handling it wouldn't be simple. Michael knew a direct confrontation with the Thompsons could have consequences. Richard was known for his influence and difficult temper. That afternoon, when he picked Joshua up, Michael tried a different approach. "Hey, how about we stop by the ice cream shop?" Joshua's eyes lit up, but the spark faded. Quickly, "Well, you don't have to, Dad. I know you're busy. I'm never too busy for you." At the ice cream shop, as Joshua ate his chocolate ice cream, Michael studied his son. How had he let things get this bad? "You know, when I was your age, I went through tough times at school too." Joshua looked up, surprised. "You, Dad, but you're so strong." "I wasn't always. There was a boy, Brandon, who tormented me every day." "What did you do?" "For a long time, nothing. I was scared, until my dad found out." "Grandpa Robert, what did he do?" Michael smiled at the memory. "Something that changed my life. But first, he taught me that asking for help isn't weakness." Joshua stirred his ice cream, thoughtful. "Dad, there's something I need to tell you." Michael held his son's hand. "You can tell me. I'm here." "Tyler and his friends, they take my lunch every day. And they say if I tell anyone," "What do they say?" "That they'll make it worse, that his dad is important and can hurt you." Michael's blood boiled. Using a child's fear was unforgivable. "Listen carefully, Joshua. No one will harm our family. I promise I'll handle this." That night, Michael couldn't sleep. Memories of his own childhood blended with the image of his son being bullied. He got up and went to his home office. He opened a locked drawer and took out an old photo. It showed him at 9 years old, standing beside his father, both smiling. It was taken right after Robert had resolved the situation with Brandon, but the solution hadn't been violent or confrontational. It had been something much smarter. He picked up the phone and called Daniel, his best friend and a lawyer. "Daniel, I need a favor. It's about Joshua." "What happened?" "Bullying at school. Richard Thompson's son is involved. Complicated. Richard isn't easy to deal with. That's why I need to do this the right way. legally and smartly. Count me in. What do you have in mind? I'm still working it out, but remember, how what my dad did when we were kids. Daniel laughed. How could I forget? It was brilliant. I think it's time to adapt that lesson for today. The next day, Michael put the first part of his plan into action. He arrived at school during recess, but this time he entered officially, asking to speak with the principal. Mrs. Margaret, I need to discuss a delicate situation. The principal, a maternal woman in her 60s, received him with concern. What happened with Joshua? He's such a well-behaved boy. Exactly why he's been an easy target. They've been stealing his lunch every day. What do you mean? We haven't received any complaints. Because he was threatened. Into silence. Yesterday, I observed the situation from the parking lot. Mrs. Margaret looked visibly upset. This is extremely serious. Who's responsible? I'd rather not name names yet. But I'd like to propose an educational solution, not a punitive one. I'm listening. I want to organize a project about empathy and consequences, with parents' involvement. Interesting. Go on. But I need you to discreetly monitor recess for the next few days, without intervening yet. Mrs. Margaret agreed, intrigued by the approach. Meanwhile, across town, Jennifer was talking to her mother, Barbara, about the situation. Mom, I'm so worried about Joshua. He's been too quiet. What about Michael? Does he know? He found out yesterday, said he'd handle it. Barbara, a retired psychologist, considered this. Jennifer, this could be an opportunity. An opportunity. My son is suffering. Yes, and it's awful, but it might be Michael's chance to get closer to Joshua, and for you two to work together as parents. Jennifer sighed. The divorce had been amicable, but the emotional distance between Michael and Joshua had only grown. He works so much. We all have our faults, dear. The question is what we do when we realize them. The next day, something unexpected happened. Joshua came home with his lunchbox untouched. Did you eat today? Michael asked, trying not to let on that he knew. Yeah, it was weird. Tyler didn't even come near me. Michael knew why. Daniel had casually run into Richard Thompson at the club and mentioned he was working on a school bullying case that could lead to $1 million lawsuit. But Michael knew this was only a temporary fix. Fear didn't teach. It just delayed the problem. That week, he drastically cut back his workload, delegating responsibilities. Linda, his secretary, was surprised. Mr. Michael, are you okay? In 15 years, I've never seen you turn down so many meetings. I'm great, Linda. Just reprioritizing. He started picking Joshua up from school every day, creating a routine of conversations on the way. He discovered things he'd missed. Joshua's best friend was a boy named Ethan. He loved drawing dinosaurs and he dreamed of being a paleontologist. Dad, why are you picking me up every day now? Joshua asked on the 4th day. Because I realized I was missing out on the best part of my life. Time with you. Joshua's eyes filled with tears. I thought you didn't care. Forgive me, son, I do care more than you know. They hugged right there in the car, a moment of connection they both needed. But the peace was fragile. The following week, Tyler started approaching Joshua again, this time with a different proposal. Hey, Joshua, my dad said I need to be nice to you. Joshua tensed up. So, you want to be my friend now, for real? Of course, in fact, you can even join our group. It felt like a trap to Joshua, but the promise of belonging, of no longer being excluded, was tempting. I need to think about it. Think fast. The offer won't last forever. That afternoon, Joshua was quieter than usual. What's wrong, champ? Michael asked on their way home. Dad, if someone who was mean to you suddenly wants to be your friend, what would you do? Michael stopped at the light, looking at his son in the rearview mirror. It depends. Did the person apologize? Show they've changed? No. He just said his dad told him to be nice to me. Then it's not a real friendship. It's an obligation. But what if it's my only chance to have friends? Michael's heart ached. Joshua, you do have friends. Ethan, for example. Ethan's nice, but he's also scared of Tyler. Michael realized the problem ran deeper than he'd thought. It wasn't just about a stolen lunch. It was about power, fear, and social exclusion. That night, he called Jennifer. We need to join forces. This is affecting Joshua more than I realized. What do you suggest? Therapy, maybe. and we both need to be more present. I agree. My mom knows an excellent child psychologist. It was the first of many steps. Joshua began therapy with Dr. Elizabeth, a kind woman who earned his trust. Meanwhile, Michael continued with his plan. He convinced Principal Margaret to implement an anti-bullying program at the school, with workshops and activities. I want it to be transformative, not just punitive, he explained in a meeting. We'll face resistance from some parents, Margaret warned. Especially from Richard Thompson, added Vice Principal Susan. Leave Richard to me, Michael replied firmly. The confrontation was inevitable. 2 days later, Richard showed up at Michael's office. We need to talk, he said without even greeting him. About our sons? Michael remained calm. About you damaging my boy with these stories. What stories? The one where he steals my son's lunch? Richard turned red. Kids play around. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Stealing isn't playing. It's a crime. Don't give me that. We're businessmen. We can settle this. Yes, we can. Your son apologizes publicly and learns to respect others. Are you crazy? That would ruin his reputation. And stealing doesn't. The tension grew. Richard stood up, threatening. You don't know who you're messing with, Michael. I know exactly who. A father who'd rather protect his son's mistakes than teach him. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not acting sooner. Richard slammed the door on his way out. Michael knew there'd be trouble, but he didn't expect how bad it would be. The next day, a major client cancelled their contract. The day after, a crucial supplier cut ties. Richard's influence was showing its claws. Linda walked into his office, worried. Michael, we're losing contracts. What's going on? Dirty war, Linda, but I won't back down. Is this about your son? Michael nodded. Then you have my full support. I have a grandson Joshua's age. The unexpected solidarity moved him. Soon he found he wasn't alone. Several employees, upon hearing about the situation, offered help. Daniel, his lawyer, brought important news. Michael, I found out something about Richard. He has hidden labor lawsuits, a lot of dirty laundry. I don't want to blackmail him. It's not blackmail, it's protection. If he keeps hurting you, we can fight back. While the adult battle raged on, Joshua faced his own challenges. Tyler had escalated the bullying. Your dad is ruining mine, and he confronted Joshua in the schoolyard. My dad just wants you to stop stealing from me. It wasn't stealing. You gave me your lunch because you made me. Prove. It was his word against Joshua's. Joshua felt powerless again. Ethan, his friend, finally found his courage. I saw everything, Joshua. I can testify. You'd do that for me? That's what real friends do. Ethan's bravery inspired others. Soon, 3 more kids offered to speak up about what they'd seen. Joshua's isolation was starting to break. Dr. Elizabeth worked with Joshua on the importance of documenting the bullying. Let's keep a journal, she suggested. What for? To process your feelings and have a record of what's happening. Joshua began to write. The words flowed, freeing him. Today, Tyler didn't take my lunch because his friends were watching. I felt strong. Ethan stood up for me today. I learned courage is contagious. Jennifer watched her son's progress with pride and worry. Mum, he's more confident, but he still has nightmares. Barbara, her mother, advised, healing takes time. What matters is he's on the right path. And Michael has been amazing. I've never seen him so dedicated. Sometimes it takes a crisis to rearrange priorities. The situation at Michael's company worsened. More contracts cancelled, subtle sabotage. But then something unexpected happened. His employees rallied. Boss, we formed a task force, announced Brian, the sales manager. A task force? To find new clients. We won't let Richard Thompson destroy our company. Their loyalty was moving. In 2 weeks, they secured contracts that made up for their losses. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. Richard was furious when his attempts to ruin Michael failed. He resorted to more direct methods. On a rainy afternoon, he showed up at the school at dismissal. Joshua, he called. Joshua froze when he saw Tyler's father. "Hi, Mr. Richard. We need to talk about your father. My dad said not to talk to strangers." "I'm not a stranger. I'm your classmate's father." Still, Joshua tried to step back, but Richard grabbed his arm. "Listen. Here, kid. Get your hands off my son." Michael's voice cut through the air. He'd arrived early and saw everything. "Michael, we were just talking. Talking? You were intimidating a child." "Dad." Joshua ran into Michael's arms. Mrs. Margaret appeared, alerted by the shouting. "What's going on here? This man was holding my son against his will." "That's a lie," Richard defended himself. "I saw everything," said a voice. It was Amanda, another student's mother. He grabbed the boy's arm. More parents gathered. Richard realized he was in trouble. "This isn't over," he threatened before storming off. Mrs. Margaret was stern. "Michael, I'll have to report this and ban Richard from the school. Do whatever it takes to protect the kids." In the car, Joshua trembled. "Dad, Mr. Richard scares me. He won't bother you again, I promise. But what about Tyler?" "Tyler needs to learn from his father's mistakes." That night, Jennifer came to Michael's house, worried. "I heard what happened. Is Joshua okay?" "Shaken but safe. He's in his room." "Michael, this is getting out of hand." "I know, but I can't back down now. I'm not asking you to. Just be careful." They looked at each other, and for a moment, their old complicity returned. "You know, you seem different," Jennifer observed. "How so?" "More present, more like a father." "It took me too long to realize what matters." "It's still not too late." A comfortable silence settled between them. There was something unspoken in the air. "Jennifer, Michael began. "No. Let's focus on Joshua now." She was right. Their son needed to be the priority. The next day, something surprising happened. Tyler was absent from school. And the next day, and the next. "Dad, Tyler's gone missing," Joshua remarked. "Maybe he's sick. Or maybe he's ashamed." "Joshua, we shouldn't take joy in others' suffering." "But he made me suffer so much." "And that's exactly why. You know how bad it feels. Don't be like him." The lesson caught Joshua off guard. His father was right. A week later, Tyler returned, but he was different. Quiet, withdrawn, isolated. "Seems like his friends have abandoned him," Ethan told Joshua. "Why?" "They say his dad's in trouble, that he's not so powerful anymore." Joshua watched Tyler sitting alone at recess. Part of him felt satisfaction. Another part felt something else. "Ethan, I'm gonna do something." "What?" Joshua walked over to Tyler, his heart racing. "Hey!" Tyler looked up, surprised and wary. "What do you want, here to get back at me?" "No, I came to ask if you're okay." "Why do you care?" "Because I know what it's like to be alone." Tyler started to cry. Right there in the middle of the schoolyard, the boy who had been his tormentor was weeping. "My dad. He's furious with me. Says I ruined everything." "It wasn't your fault." "Yes, it was. I started it by stealing your lunch. You can stop, you can change. It's too late, no one wants to be my friend." Joshua made a decision that would change everything. "I can be. If you really change." Tyler stared at him as if he couldn't believe it. "After everything I did?" "My dad taught me about second chances." Across the schoolyard, Mrs. Margaret watched the scene with tears in her eyes. She immediately called Michael. "You need to hear what your son just did." Michael listened, moved. Joshua had understood the deepest lesson. When he picked him up, he hugged his son with pride. "I heard what you did today. Was it the right thing, Dad?" "More than right, it was brave and noble. But what if he goes back to being mean? Then you walk away. Giving a second chance doesn't mean accepting mistreatment." Tyler's transformation wasn't immediate. There were setbacks, moments of tension. But Joshua remained patient, setting clear boundaries. Richard Thompson, meanwhile, faced the consequences of his actions. The labor lawsuits came to light. His reputation, built on intimidation, crumbled. One afternoon, he showed up at Michael's office, but this time he was different, defeated, aged. "I came to apologize," he said bluntly. Michael studied him in silence. "You went too far, Richard. I know the arrogance blinded me." It wasn't arrogance, it was cruelty. You tried to destroy my company because I stood up for my son. And I ended up destroying myself. The consequences of our choices. Richard sighed deeply. Tyler told me about your son's kindness. I felt ashamed. Joshua has a good heart. One I almost corrupted with my example. Almost, there's still time to change. You think so? If you're here apologizing, it's a start. Richard extended his hand. Truce? Michael hesitated, then shook it. For our son's peace. From that day on, deep changes began. Richard started therapy, working on his aggression. Tyler continued his transformation, supported by his new friendship with Joshua. Jennifer watched it all with growing admiration for Michael. You really have changed, she said during a family dinner. Almost losing what matters most does that. What matters most? Joshua and our family. The look they exchanged was full of possibilities. Barbara, watching her daughter and ex-son-in-law, smiled discreetly. Some stories deserved second chapters, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. At the company, the aftermath of the conflict with Richard still lingered. Despite the team's efforts, recovery was slow. Michael, the quarterly numbers aren't good, the accountant warned. I know, but we'll survive. It'll require sacrifices. Starting with me, cut my salary in half. Sir, the company is bigger than me. It's all the families who depend on it. The news spread quickly. The employees' loyalty, already high, reached extraordinary levels. Everyone mobilized to save the company. Joshua watched his father's efforts with concern. Dad, are we poor now? No, son, just going through a rough patch. Because of me. Never say that. Because of your right choices. I'd rather struggle doing what's right than prosper through injustice. Can I help? How? I don't need expensive lunches. Simple is fine. Michael hugged his son, moved. Your lunch was never expensive, Joshua. The value was in the love it was made with. Jennifer, aware of the struggles, did something unexpected. She showed up at Michael's office with an offer. I came to help. Jennifer, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I'm a partner at a consulting firm. I can bring in clients. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's family helping family. The word family hung in the air. They were still family despite the divorce. Why would you do this? Because you became the father Joshua needed, and because I still care. The confession caught them both off guard. Michael held Jennifer's hand. Me too. I never stopped caring, but we were different people before. And now, maybe we're who we should have been. They began working together to revive the company. The professional partnership brought back the closeness they'd lost. Joshua noticed the change. Mama, you and Dad friends again? Yes, sweetheart, friends. Just friends? Jennifer blushed. Why do you ask? Because you look at each other differently. Kids and their disarming honesty. Meanwhile, Tyler continued his journey of transformation. With psychological support and Joshua's friendship, he discovered a new way of being in the world. Joshua, can I tell you a secret? Sure, I used to envy you. Me? Why? Your dad picks you up, cares about you. Mine only cares about business. But he's changing too, isn't he? He's trying. Yesterday, we played ball together for the first time. See? It's never too late. The boys' friendship grew, stronger, now built on solid foundations of respect and understanding. At school, the anti-bullying program showed results. Cases of intimidation dropped dramatically. Mrs. Margaret was proud. Michael, your initiative transformed our school. It was a team effort. But you had the courage to start it, motivated by love for my son. And that love is transforming an entire community. It was true. Joshua and Tyler's story had inspired other changes. More attentive parents, more empathetic kids, more vigilant teachers. But the past still demanded its due. At a parent meeting, one mother confronted Michael. You ruined Richard's reputation. He did that himself. My husband lost his job because of the lawsuits that came to light. I'm sorry, but I wasn't the one who committed the labor violations. You could have handled it quietly. And let it continue? How many more families would suffer? The woman stormed off, but other parents stepped forward in support. You did the right thing, Michael. My brother-in-law worked for Richard. He went through hell. Someone had to have the courage. The community's support was a balm. Michael realized he wasn't alone in his values. At home, making dinner with Joshua, a new tradition, they talked about the day. "Dad, today I helped a new kid at school." "Oh yeah? How?" "He was lost, had no friends. I remembered how I felt." "And what did you do?" "I invited him to sit with us at recess. Tyler was also nice to him. I'm proud of both of you." "You know, Dad, I think what happened to me wasn't all bad." "How so?" "It taught me to be strong and to help others." Michael stopped slicing the tomatoes, moved. "You turned pain into compassion. That's wisdom. I learned it from you." "No, son. I learned from you." They hugged right there in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of home-cooked food and renewed love. Jennifer arrived for dinner, another new tradition, and found father and son embracing. "Did I interrupt something?" "No, Mom, we were talking about helping people. My little philosopher." She kissed Joshua's forehead. Dinner was lively, full of conversation and laughter, like a family, because they were a family, despite everything. After Joshua went to bed, Michael and Jennifer stayed on the porch. "You know what Joshua asked me the other day?" Jennifer began. "What? If there's still a chance for us to live together again." Michael felt his heart race. "And what did you say?" "That I didn't know, that adults are complicated." "We really are. But maybe we don't have to be so much." They looked at each other under the moonlight. Years of history between them. Mistakes, triumphs, love, hurt, and now, hope. "Jennifer, I've changed. I know, I've seen it. But you've changed too." "How?" "You're stronger, more confident, more yourself." "The divorce forced me to find myself. What if we found each other again, as the people we've become?" Jennifer held his hand. "Let's take it slow. For Joshua. For all three of us." A gentle kiss sealed their promise to try. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. 6 months passed. Michael's company, with Jennifer's help, and the team's dedication, not only recovered but grew. New clients, impressed by the company's values, sought their services. "You know what they say?" Linda remarked. "They want to work with a company that has principles." "Integrity became our best marketing," Michael smiled. Richard Thompson, on his journey of redemption, approached Michael with a proposal. "I want to do something right. A donation to the school's anti-bullying program." "Why?" "Because it saved my son. Tyler is unrecognizable, kind, studious, happy. He saved himself, with Joshua's help. Those boys taught us so much. Taught us it's never too late to change." The donation was substantial, allowing the program to expand to other schools. What began as a personal tragedy became a collective benefit. Joshua and Tyler, now best friends, planned projects together. "Let's start a support group," Tyler suggested. "For what?" "For kids who suffer from bullying. We can help." "Brilliant. Let's talk to Principal Margaret." The Courage Club, as they named it, was a success. Children who suffered in silence found their voice and support. At one of the club meetings, a shy girl named Emma shared her story. They hide my things every day." "Who?" Joshua asked gently. "The popular girls. They say I'm weird." "You're not weird," Tyler said firmly. "You're unique. But it hurts." "We know," Joshua held her hand. "But you're not alone anymore." The club grew, creating a network of protection and friendship. Mrs. Margaret was amazed. "You've created something beautiful, boys." "It was Tyler's idea," Joshua gave credit. "But you taught me I could use my experience for good," Tyler replied. Their friendship was living proof that change was possible. Jennifer and Michael continued their careful reconnection. Family dinners, park outings, long talks after Joshua fell asleep. "You know what else changed in you?" Jennifer asked one evening. "What?" "You learned to be present. Before, even at home, you were at work. I almost lost you because of that. But you didn't. You fought." "I'm still fighting. Every day I choose you over the office." And that makes all the difference. Barbara, Jennifer's mother, watched the reconciliation with satisfaction and wisdom. Don't rush, she advised her daughter. But Joshua wants it so much. Joshua wants happy parents, together or apart, but happy. What if it doesn't work out again? What if it does? Don't let fear of failure stop the chance for happiness. The advice resonated. Jennifer decided to take the risk, but with awareness and maturity. A year after the whole story began, the school organized a special ceremony. The anti-bullying program was being recognized by the Department of Education. "We want to honor those who made this possible," announced Mrs. Margaret. Michael was called to the stage, but refused the spotlight. This only happened because one brave boy told the truth, and another brave boy chose to change. "Joshua and Tyler, come up here." The boys stepped onto the stage to applause, from enemies to examples of transformation. Tyler took the microphone, nervous. I was a bully. I hurt people because I thought it made me strong. But Joshua taught me that real strength is having the courage to change, to apologize, to be better. Joshua added, "And I learned that forgiving isn't weakness, it's freedom. Tyler is my best friend now because we chose to write a different story." The auditorium erupted in applause. Many parents cried, seeing in the boys examples for their own children. Richard in the audience discreetly wiped away tears. Beside him, his wife held his hand, proud of her husband and son's change. Michael and Jennifer, sitting together, intertwined their fingers. Their son had transformed not just their lives but an entire community. After the ceremony, the families gathered to celebrate. "I'm proud of you," Richard told Tyler. "Really, Dad, after everything. Especially after everything. You taught me that making mistakes isn't the end. It's the chance to do better." Father and son embraced, healing old wounds. Joshua watched with satisfaction. His ability to forgive had created waves of change. "What are you thinking about, champ?" Michael asked. "That's sometimes the worst. Things can turn into the best." "How so?" "If they'd never stolen my lunch, none of this would have happened. Tyler would still be mean. You'd still be working too much. Mom and you wouldn't be together." "Together?" Michael and Jennifer said at the same time. Joshua grinned mischievously. "Come on, you think I don't notice? You're dating again." The parents blushed but didn't deny it. "Are you happy about it?" Jennifer asked. "Very. But this time do it right, okay?" The child's honesty drew laughter. "We'll do our best," Michael promised. Life went on, with new challenges arising. The company faced competition, Joshua had tough exams, and Tyler struggled with the temptation to fall back into old habits under stress. But now they faced everything together, as a family, as a community, as people transformed by the experience. One ordinary afternoon, Michael came home and found Joshua in the backyard, sharing his idea lunch with a street kid who always passed by. "Hey Dad, this is Kevin, he was hungry." "Nice to meet you, Kevin. Want to come inside for something more filling?" The boy, wary but hungry, agreed. As they prepared a plate of food, Joshua whispered to his father, "Can we help him, Dad? Like, we helped Tyler. Let's see what we can do." And so the cycle of kindness continued. What had started with a stolen lunch had turned into a chain of transformation. They discovered Kevin lived with his sick grandmother. Michael mobilized resources to help. Jennifer arranged medical care. Joshua and Tyler included Kevin in their group. "Why are you doing this?" Kevin's grandmother asked, moved. "Because someone has to start," Michael replied. "And we discovered that small gestures can change worlds." The story spread. Other families were inspired. The whole neighborhood began to mobilize to help those in need. Mrs. Margaret created a solidarity lunch program at the school. Families who could afford it donated extra to ensure no child went hungry. "It all started with your son, Michael," she said at a meeting. "No. It started with his courage to not accept injustice in silence. Tyler became one of the program's biggest advocates. I used to take food from others. Now I want to make sure everyone has some." His transformation inspired other bullies to rethink their actions. One day, a reporter came wanting to do a story about the program. "It's such an inspiring story," she said excitedly. "The real story is about second chances," Joshua said with maturity beyond his years. "How so?" Everyone deserves the chance to be better. I gave that chance to Tyler. My dad gave it to his father. And now we're trying to give it to everyone. The story aired, moving thousands. Donations poured in from everywhere. The program expanded to the entire city. Richard Thompson became one of its biggest supporters, using his influence now for good. I spent years building power for evil, he confessed in a speech. Now I want to use what's left for good. His public redemption was powerful. Other businessmen joined the cause. At home, the blended family celebrated simple victories. Dinners together, movies on the couch, bedtime conversations. "Dad, do you think bad can turn into good?" Joshua asked one night. "How do you mean?" "Like, if Tyler had never been mean to me, he wouldn't know how to help others who are bullied." That's deep. Maybe our worst experiences can make us better at helping others. So nothing is entirely bad? I think it all depends on what we do with what happens to us. Jennifer, listening from the doorway, was moved by the wisdom both had gained. "Can I join the philosophical talk? Mom, we were talking about good and evil. My favorite subject." She sat on the bed. "What's your take, Mom?" "I think love transforms everything. Your father's love for you transformed our family. Your love for Tyler transformed him. It's always about love." "So love is stronger than evil?" "Always, my son, always." The family hugged, united by bonds stronger than before. 2 years passed. Joshua and Tyler, now finishing middle school, worked on a special project. "Let's write a book," Tyler proposed. "About what?" "Our story, to help other kids." The project took months, with help from their parents and Dr. Elizabeth. They wrote, "From Fear to Friendship, How We Transformed Bullying into Kindness." The launch at school was emotional. Kids, parents, and teachers packed the auditorium. "This book was born from pain," Joshua began his speech, "but it bloomed into hope." "We want every child who suffers to know you're not alone," Tyler added, "and every child who makes others suffer to know it's never too late to change." The book became an educational tool in many schools. The boys were invited to speak, always accompanied by their parents. At one talk, in an inner-city school, they faced resistance. "You're rich kids," a teenager challenged. "You don't know real violence." "You're right," Joshua replied calmly. "I don't know your reality, but I know pain is pain, rich or poor. And I know change is possible anywhere," Tyler added. "Because change starts here," he pointed to his heart. The teen, touched by their sincerity, lowered his guard. "It's just hard to believe things can be different." "Start small," Joshua suggested. "One kindness a day, one apology, one helping hand. Seems like so little. My father always says, great transformations begin with small steps." The seed was planted. Months later, they received a letter from that school. The teenager had created a conflict mediation group. The violence had decreased. "See," Michael said proudly, "you started a movement." "We didn't start anything, Dad," Joshua corrected. "We just showed it's possible." His son's humility constantly moved Michael. Jennifer, now officially reconciled with Michael, was planning their renewed wedding. "Nothing extravagant," she requested, "just family and true friends. And one important detail," Michael added, "Tyler will be my junior best man." "Really?" Joshua was surprised. "He's part of our transformation story." When Tyler found out, he cried with emotion. "Me, best man, but Your family now," Michael affirmed. "Chosen family." Richard, watching the scene, learned another lesson about what truly matters. The wedding was simple and beautiful, held in the schoolyard, symbolizing where it all began. Mrs. Margaret officiated the civil ceremony. "This union represents more than romantic love," she said. "It represents the power of transformation, forgiveness, and the courage to start over." Joshua and Tyler, the junior best men, held the rings. "Dad," Joshua whispered. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up. On me, on Mom, on us." "Thank you for teaching me what really matters." Their vows were personal and heartfelt. "Jennifer," Michael began, "I promise to be present, not just in body but in soul. I promise to choose our family every day in small and big decisions. Michael, Jennifer replied, I promise to believe in us, in our changes, in our growth. I promise to build with you not a perfect family, but a real and loving one. When they kissed, the schoolyard erupted in applause and joyful tears. The celebration was lively, with kids from the Courage Club running around, parents talking about the miracles they'd witnessed, and teachers proud of what they'd built together. Kevin, the former street kid now welcomed, played guitar, a song about fresh starts that he'd composed himself. Where there was fear, they planted courage. Where there was hate, friendship grew. The boy who once cried alone now teaches others about happiness. The simple lyrics touched everyone present. Barbara, the proud grandmother, gave a speech. I've lived long enough to know the best stories are those of overcoming. I saw my daughter and son-in-law lose their way and find each other again. I saw my grandson turn pain into compassion. This family proves love always finds a way. Emotional applause followed her words. Over time, life brought new challenges. Joshua's adolescence arrived with its own questions. Tyler faced the pressure of not disappointing after his transformation. Michael and Jennifer navigated the challenges of a rebuilt marriage, but now they had tools: dialogue, patience, unconditional love. At a school parent meeting 3 years later, a mother approached Michael. You don't know me, but you know my son, Nathan. He was one of the boys who helped Tyler take Joshua's lunch. Michael tensed up. I came to thank you, she continued. Your son forgiving Tyler inspired my Nathan to ask for forgiveness too. Now he's a different child. Joshua has that gift. It's not a gift, it's a choice, and you taught him to choose love over hate. Another life changed by this chain of kindness. Michael's company, now with Jennifer as an official partner, became a model for social responsibility. Half the profits went to educational programs. It's not just about making money, Michael explained in business talks. It's about the legacy we leave. We've found that purpose-driven companies attract the best talent and clients, Jennifer added. Doing good is good for business. Their model inspired other companies, a quiet revolution in the corporate world. Joshua, now 15 years old, faced a new challenge. A new girl at school, Olivia, was being bullied for being foreign. I need to help her, Dad, but it's different. It's the popular girls. What's the problem? They're subtle. It's not physical violence, it's exclusion, gossip, cyberbullying. Bullying evolves, but the principles to fight it remain the same. What principles? Courage, empathy, and strategic action. Joshua devised a plan. First, he reached out to Olivia by offering genuine friendship. Then, he mobilized the Courage Club, now with hundreds of members. Let's create a welcome campaign, he proposed. How? Tyler asked. By showing that diversity is a strength. Olivia can teach us about her culture. They organized a cultural fair. Olivia, initially shy, blossomed as she shared traditions from her country. The popular girls, seeing Olivia gain admiration, tried to get closer. Now they want to be my friends, Olivia told Joshua. And you, I've learned from you. True friendship doesn't come from fear or self-interest. Wise decision. But I won't be cruel, just careful. Olivia's maturity impressed Joshua. A new, special friendship was born. Tyler watched with a smile. I think someone's in love. Tyler, Joshua blushed. What's the problem? It's nice to see you happy. We're just friends. For now, Tyler winked. Adolescence brought new complexities, but the foundations built in childhood sustained their friendships. Richard Thompson, in his ongoing transformation, created a foundation. Michael, I want your family on the board. Why? Because you showed me the way. The foundation will support children who are bullied and their families. It's an honor, Richard. The honor is mine to make amends even partially for the harm I caused. The Fresh Start Foundation, as it was named, offered free psychological, legal, and educational support. At the opening, Tyler gave an emotional speech. My father and I were the villains of this story, but we discovered villains are just heroes who haven't found their path yet. This foundation is our way of lighting paths. Thunderous applause followed his words. The foundation's impact was quickly evident. Families broken by bullying found support. Children regained confidence. Bullies received guidance for change. Dr. Elizabeth, now the Foundation's clinical director, shared in a meeting, "In 20 years of practice, I've never seen such profound transformation in a community. We've proven cycles of violence can be broken." Joshua, though young, participated actively. His experience was gold for other children. In a group session, an 8-year-old boy asked, "Joshua, did you hate Tyler?" "For a while, yes." "And how did you stop hating him?" "I realized hate hurt me more than him, and that he was suffering too, just didn't know how to show it differently." "But he was bad." "He acted badly. That's different." "Good. People sometimes do bad things. And can bad people become good? Look at Tyler now. What do you think?" The boy watched Tyler leading an activity with such warmth and smiled. "I think so. Small epiphanies happen daily at the Foundation." Jennifer developed a special program, Support for Parents. "We found that parents of bullies also suffer," she explained. "Guilt, shame, not knowing how to act." "It's true," Richard confirmed. "I felt lost when I found out about Tyler. The parent groups became spaces for collective healing, parents of victims and bullies, together, learning." In one meeting, a shocking revelation. Brian, father of a bully, confessed, "I was a bully in school too. I taught my son without realizing it." "How?" another father asked. "By my example. Being aggressive in traffic, yelling at clerks, looking down on people. He learned that's what strength was." "And now?" Jennifer guided gently. "Now we're learning together. I went to apologize to people I had hurt. Some were shocked. Others cried with relief. That's a wonderful example for your son. He's proud of me for the first time in years. The transformations multiplied like ripples. Joshua at 16 was invited to speak at the UN about combating bullying. Dad, it's such a big responsibility. You're ready, your voice can reach the world. But I'm just a teenager who transformed an entire community. Age doesn't diminish impact. With his family's support, Joshua accepted. Tyler would go too, representing the perspective of a reformed bully. In New York, before delegates from around the world, Joshua began, "My story started with a stolen lunch. It could have ended as just another school violence statistic. But we chose to write a different ending." Tyler continued, "I was the bully. Today I'm living proof that people can change. But they need opportunity, support, and most of all, someone who believes in their capacity to be better." The presentation included videos of the school's transformation, testimonials from children they'd helped, and data on reduced violence. The ambassador from Sweden remarked, "This is revolutionary, restorative justice applied from childhood." "We didn't invent anything," Joshua replied humbly. "We just applied what humanity has always known. Love transforms." The impact was global. Invitations to implement the program in other countries poured in. Michael and Jennifer, watching online, cried with pride. "Our boy changing the world," Jennifer whispered. "He always had that ability. We almost didn't let it blossom. Thank goodness we woke up in time. Thank goodness he woke us up." Back in the United States, life went on. Olivia and Joshua were quietly dating. Tyler had been accepted into a youth leadership program. Kevin had become a professional musician. The network of change reached thousands. Schools across the country implemented versions of the program. But it was in a simple moment that the magnitude of the change became clear. Michael came home and found Joshua helping a new boy in the neighborhood with his homework. "Who's your friend?" "This is Miguel, Dad. He just moved in yesterday. He seemed a little lost." "Hi, Miguel. Welcome to the neighborhood." "Hi, sir. Joshua's been helping me a lot. He's good at that." After Miguel left, Michael hugged his son. "You know what makes me proudest?" "What?" "That helping has become natural for you. It's not an effort. It's who you are. I learned from the best example." "No, son. You taught me to be an example." They sat on the couch, reminiscing about their journey. "Dad, if you could go back in time, would you change anything?" "I'd change a lot. But then we wouldn't have learned what we did." "So it was worth it?" "Every tear, every hardship. because it brought us here. Here is good here. Here is perfect. Jennifer arrived with pizza for dinner. What are you two talking about? How a stolen lunch changed the world? Joshua smiled. Our world, at least. Jennifer kissed them both. Worlds are changed one at a time, Michael mused. And our next project? Jennifer teased. Next? Joshua asked. The foundation wants to expand internationally. How about a sabbatical year traveling and implementing programs? Really? Joshua's eyes lit up. If you're up for it, Tyler and his family would come too. That would be amazing. Then it's decided, the Transformation Family on a world tour. They laughed at the nickname, but it was true. They had transformed, and now they were transforming others. That night, Joshua wrote in his journal, "Today marks exactly 5 years since my lunch was first stolen. It feels like another life. Or rather, it was another life. We were different people. Dad worked too much, Mom was distant, I was afraid. Of everything. Tyler was cruel, his father even worse. Our school was a silent battlefield. Today we're a real family. Not perfect, but real. Tyler is my chosen brother. Our parents are friends. The school is a beacon of hope. And me? I discovered that my small voice can echo far. Tomorrow, we begin a new adventure, taking our story to the world, showing that bullying isn't destiny, it's a choice, and choices can change. If someone ever reads this, I want them to know, no matter how dark it seems, there's always light. Sometimes it comes from where we least expect. For me, it came from a boy who hurt me. For him, it came from the boy he hurt. Forgiveness sets free, love transforms, courage spreads. And it all started with a stolen lunch. Or rather, it all started when we chose not to let it end there. He closed the diary and went to sleep, dreaming of all the lives they would still touch. The next morning, the two families met at the airport. Hugs, tears of joy, anticipation. Ready to change the world? Richard asked. We've already changed ours, Tyler replied. Now it's time to share. With humility, Joshua reminded, every place has its own wisdom. We'll learn as much as we teach, Jennifer agreed. And above all, Michael concluded, we'll do this together, as family. Chosen and extended family, Richard's wife added. The best kind, Barbara, who had decided to join them, smiled. On the plane, Joshua and Tyler planned their first presentation. Let's start simple, Tyler suggested. Tell our story. Show that it's possible. And listen, really listen. Every culture has its own way of healing, and all are valid. The maturity of the young men was striking. Olivia, who would join them for some stops, sent a message. You saved me. Now you'll save others. So proud of my heroes. Heroes? Joshua laughed. We're just people who chose to try. The best kind of heroes, Tyler patted his friend's shoulder. Their first stop was South Africa, a country with its own stories of reconciliation. They were welcomed by educators eager to exchange experiences. You've come from the United States to teach about forgiveness? A teacher asked. We have King. We've come to learn, Joshua corrected, and to share a small story that can speak to your great one. Humility opened doors. Instead of imposing a model, they created dialogues. South African children shared their experiences. Different contexts, the same human pain. In our neighborhood, bullying is sometimes about different tribes, a boy explained. How do you handle it? Tyler asked. We don't handle it well, that's why we want to learn. Together, they adapted the program to the local reality. Unity. I am because we are became the central principle. In every country, the same dynamic. Listen, learn, adapt, share. India brought the perspective of castes, Mexico immigration, Japan academic pressure. It's amazing, Jennifer remarked one evening. Bullying has 1,000 faces, but the cure always follows the same path. What path? Michael asked. Human connection, seeing the other as equal in dignity. And having the courage to be vulnerable, Joshua added. The vulnerability you showed in forgiving, Michael recalled. The one Tyler showed in changing. The one we all showed in starting over. A year passed in this transformative journey. They didn't just give, they received. Back in the United States, they implemented what they'd learned. The program, now multicultural, was richer than ever. At the Foundation's review meeting, the numbers were staggering. 50 countries reached, 10,000 educators trained, 1 million children impacted, 70% reduction in bullying at participating schools. But it was the personal stories that moved them. A letter from Poland. My son was planning suicide. Your program saved him. From Kenya. Children who hated each other over tribal issues are now best friends. From Canada. We implemented it in indigenous communities. Ancient healing met modern methods. Every one of these letters, Richard couldn't finish, overcome with emotion. It's a life saved, Tyler completed, just like you saved mine. We saved each other, Joshua corrected. That was always the magic. At 18, Joshua faced a new decision. Prestigious. Universities worldwide offered him scholarships. What does your heart say? Jennifer asked. I want to study psychology and education, to understand more deeply so I can help better. Where? Stanford University offered a special program. I could continue the work while studying. And Olivia? She got into MIT. We'd be close by. And I'm going to Europe, Tyler announced, to study conflict resolution in Geneva. Our boys, off into the world, Michael said, moved. But always connected, Joshua assured. Distance doesn't separate family. The farewell at the airport was cinematic. Two families that had become one, now temporarily on different continents, yet bound by unbreakable ties. Remember when you thought you'd lost your lunch? Michael whispered as he hugged Joshua. I gained the world, Dad. We gained it because of your courage to forgive and your courage to change. I love you, son. I love you, Dad. Tyler and Richard had a similar moment. Proud of you, Richard said simply. I learned from the best, the man you became, the man you taught me to be. Years passed. Joshua became a psychologist specializing in restorative justice. Tyler, an international conflict mediator. Olivia, a social engineer developing inclusive technologies. They married in a triple ceremony, celebrating friendships that had turned into family. Kevin, now a famous composer, wrote a special song for the occasion. 3 children, 3 paths. That fate intertwined. A lunchbox, a pain, a forgiveness, and the world transformed. No hurt too deep to heal. When love is the decision. From the schoolyard to the planet. They spread compassion. The foundation became a global reference. Michael and Jennifer, now grandparents to Joshua and Olivia's twins, continued the work. Grandpa, tell the lunchbox story, 5-year-old Emma begged. Again? It's my favorite, her brother Noah chimed in. All right. Once upon a time, there was a boy whose lunch was stolen every day. As Michael told the story, Joshua watched from the doorway. The life he had lived had become a family legend, inspiration for a new generation. Tyler arrived with his own children. Uncle Josh, they shouted, running to hug him. Hey, little rascals, here for the story. Daddy said, You were really brave. Your dad was the brave one. He changed everything for the better. We changed together, Tyler corrected, always together. The children settled in to listen to Grandpa Michael while the parents chatted on the porch. Sometimes it feels like a dream, Olivia remarked. The bad part or the transformation? Joshua asked. All of it. How something so painful turned into something so beautiful. Fertilizer, Tyler mused. The best flowers grow where there's been decay. Poet now? Joshua teased. Wife's influence. Rachel writes poetry. And softens hard hearts, Rachel joined them. Like you all taught me. The sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in hopeful colors. Inside, the children listened, captivated, to the story of boys who chose love over hate. Jennifer and Tyler's mother prepared dinner, laughing over shared memories. Remember when we thought it was the end? One asked. And it was. The end of who we were. So we could become who we are. Richard and other foundation parents arrived for the monthly meeting. Now dozens of families were united by a common purpose. News from Washington, D.C. Richard announced. They passed the law. They cheered. After years of lobbying, emotional, education and restorative justice would be mandatory in all schools nationwide. "Joshua, you did it!" everyone shouted. "We did it," he corrected. "Every person who chose to forgive, every child who chose to change, every parent who chose to be present." Barbara, now 90 years old, raised a toast to the family that pain created and love sustained. "May future generations not have to suffer to learn what you've discovered. We are all one." "We are all one," they repeated. The children ran to the garden, playing under the newborn stars. The adults watched them, grateful to grow up in a slightly kinder world. "Do you know my favorite part of the story?" Emma asked her brother. "Which part?" "When the mean boy turns good." "Why?" "Because it shows everyone can, even me." "Especially you," she hugged her brother. Joshua and Tyler exchanged emotional glances. The seed was being passed on. That night, Joshua wrote a new entry in his journal, now digital, and shared with millions. Today, 20 years later, I can say, every tear was worth it. Not because the pain was necessary, but because we chose to turn it into love. My children will grow up in a world where bullying is the exception, not the rule, where schools teach empathy alongside math, where parents understand presence matters more than presents. Tyler and I will grow old together, telling this story until it becomes just a memory of darker times. The foundation will continue, touching lives we can't even imagine, because we've discovered the secret. It's not about the stolen lunch. It's about what we do when something is taken from us. We can choose bitterness or transformation, revenge or restorative justice, isolation or community. We chose love, always love, and that made all the difference. To those reading this in pain, hold on. Your suffering may be the fertilizer for global change. To those causing pain, it's never too late. Forgiveness is waiting for you. To parents, be present. Your children need you more than you know. To the world, small gestures, big transformations. It started with a hungry 9-year-old boy. It continues with every person who chooses love over fear, including you, especially you. He closed his laptop and went to join his family in the garden. 3 generations united under the stars, living proof that love always wins. In the sky, a shooting star streaked across the darkness. "Make a wish!" the children shouted. Joshua closed his eyes but had no wish. Everything he needed was already there. Tyler placed a hand on his shoulder. "What are you thinking?" "That I already have everything." "Me too, brother. Me too." They embraced, 2 men who could have been lifelong enemies, but chose to write a different story. The children ran up to them. "Uncle Tyler, Uncle Josh, let's play." "Play what?" they asked. "Is saving the world." "How do you play that?" "By being kind to everyone." The simplicity of childhood captured the essence of it all. "Then let's save the world," they agreed. And under the stars of Chicago, 3 generations played at spreading kindness, unaware they were doing exactly that. The cycle continued, from pain to love, from love to transformation, from transformation to legacy, and it all started with a stolen lunch, or rather, with the choice not to let the story end there. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your honest thoughts in the comments. Do you think Joshua made the right choice by forgiving Tyler? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartfelt stories.